Going live. All right. All right, it says that we are live.
Yay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. And today I'm really excited because I'm with Katman Udarro. Have I pronounced your name correctly?
It's Udarro, but that's okay. It's Katara Udarro, and I go by Kat or Katman because it's just so much easier.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for being here, my brand new friend, and I'm sure we've known each other for a very long time. And it just feels like it, right? When you meet someone and you know them.
Yeah, old souls.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about the ascension process, and hopefully people will have questions and we can answer any questions that someone might have, because I feel, and I'm sure Kat does too, that it's really important to understand what's going on with our planet, with humanity, for anyone who may be experiencing symptoms of the process. And I have a lot of people that ask me, what is this all about? What is this shift or this ascension? So that's why we're here today, to hopefully answer some questions and have a really great discussion.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, Kat, please?
Sure. So I am the director and co-host of Third Eye Salon, and we had Sharon on, and it was an immediate love fest. And that's when I decided I was just going to sneak into Sharon's house and move in when she wasn't watching, because I still wanted to hang out with her and be with her. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, so I guess, I'm one of those people who has, I guess I would say, awakening points all throughout my life. Like Sharon, for example, she had a near-death experience when she was 9, and then again, like 10-ish years ago. And so these are things where when people have some dramatic awakenings like that, it's night and day. And I think there's some slow growers, like I think a lot of us are slow growers, where it's like we have windows that open and we have things that come back, and it builds an accumulation to our awakening and to our awareness. And that's definitely what it's been like for me in this lifetime, was knowing that I never really fit, never really felt like I belonged, had always was empathic, didn't know what it was, but it was always empathic and very sensitive, and really struggled to be on the planet for the bulk of my life. Just there'd be times when things were going great, but oftentimes it was just overwhelming to be here, and from internal things as well as the world around. And it's been a process of learning how to own my power and to realize that I'm the one creating my experience, and to get myself out of the victim role and that victim mentality, and to give myself permission to love my life and forgive my life for having hurt, the hurt that we experience in our lives. Not that mine was any greater or more dramatic than others, but it's your own story is your own story. And to just not get attached and pulled down by that, and to learn that it's to learn that I am awareness. We are all awareness experiencing. We are awareness experiencing. We are the water. We're not the ripples. The ripples, what happens in the water, but we are the water. We're the ones holding the experience. So learning, and I'm still learning for sure, how to catch myself and own my place in the world as a psychic empath, and a co-creator, and a new earth leader. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is like new earth stuff, ascension. So here we are. How was that? Was that okay?
Oh, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
I'm usually the interviewer, not the guy answering the questions.
No, that was awesome. I love the analogy with the water and the ripples. That was beautiful. I had that visual as you were talking about it. Yeah, that was beautiful. Definitely.
Waves happen, but we're the water. Like we don't, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So you had a couple of weeks ago. I'm just dying to hear about your experiences with this is well, it's not really off topic, is it? Because this helps us. The plant medicine helps us. So
Yeah.
you had some ceremony a couple of weeks ago. Do you mind sharing that at all?
Yeah, of course. So you can go see the full discussion on it on Third Eye Salon, which is the YouTube channel. But yeah, I actually went the day after the ceremonies. We had two ceremonies, 2 separate days. And on the third day, we had the show. So I got to talk about it, like all of it. Well, it was still fresh in my mind. Yeah, it was really good. It was a very, very good experience. It was, I don't really like the word control freak. I think I have expectations and standards. But if you were to look around my house, you'd be like, oh, he's not a control freak. He might need some help with tidying up. But like, I definitely have predilections in terms of what I like and what I want, and expectations. And expectations are always our undoing, you know. There was somebody at the event who said expectations are premeditated disappointment. And I just thought that was so brilliant. It really struck me.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it was a lot about going in and being like, I didn't think it'd be like this. Didn't think that was going to happen. Never knew that was, no one told me about that. And having to let go of those things, you know, bit by bit. So just to give you an overview, there were 2 days of ceremonies. And so the first day we did Wachuma, which is also known as San Pedro. It's its Christian name, I guess, is San Pedro. When the Catholics came in, that's a whole other story. And then the other one was Changa on the second day. So on Thursday, we did the Wachuma, and on Friday evening, we did the Changa. And the Changa, for people who don't know, is it's the evolution or the, it is ayahuasca, but it is in a smokable form. So it's more of an immediate DMT experience so it can, in the ceremony of with Changa, however, you do drink some ayahuasca, which I didn't know about until it was happening. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was afraid of, like, you know, throwing up and all that great stuff, which plant medicine can make you do depending on the medicine. Not all of them do, but some of them do. And so you do this swig of the ayahuasca so that when you smoke the Changa, the ayahuasca, the Changa has something to land on, and it's not just like a fast DMT experience where you shoot off and come back. It's more extended, but not extended like ayahuasca, which can be like 8 to 10 hours of tripping. Wow. And wow, if you're not enjoying it, can you imagine being stuck there for 8 hours? And anyway, so the Thursday experience was really lovely and warm because Wachuma is heart medicine. It's a heart plant medicine. It's a masculine medicine, and it is about connecting you and opening you up into your heart. And it was, you know, it was very simple in terms of what we did. We were out in the deserts of Blanca, Colorado, which are rattlesnake infested. Like Colorado has rattlesnakes. Once you get out in the high desert, it's just like rattlesnakes, or just hanging out, you know, just living their best lives. And so you'd walk in a line, and you would go to us, you know, would find a covering a certain location. Drew, the plant medicine master, would do some songs, do some chanting. His wife Ella would normally be with him, but she's with baby, so she wasn't gonna go out there all day and be tromping around in the hot sun and whatnot. And also she's making us great food, so when we came back we had a feast because you fast that day, you know. And I did a 2-week cleanser for this, so I think I had probably a really like a heightened experience in some ways with I'd say we'll get to it. When I talk about the Changa, I was very happy that I had the 2-week cleanse because I didn't have any sort of like nasty experience of throwing up or the other. Going out either ends, I was fine, just great. That was a total win for me. So
yeah, it would be.
You know, who wants to like do a bucket in front of people? Like nobody wants to do that. Running the restroom, which is just like, you know, like you can hear the restroom really easily. So, you know, again, control and what you want. But at that point though, you also have to be like, well, what happens happens, and we're all in this together. At that point, we're all bonded. So anyway, back to Wachuma. On the Thursday, we are walking lines, drinking, swigging down like the Wachuma. So it's a cactus. If you don't know, it's a cactus. Cactus practice, cactus medicine. And so you do that, and then we would go off, go on another walk wherever else, down to the river, or what have you. Do some more of that, swig some more, and at a certain point, it was just kind of like I just remember at a certain point we stopped again. We're hanging out, had some, and it was more like we're just hanging out with friends and talking at this point. It was very casual. And this is my only Wachuma and Changa experience I've ever had. So I have nothing to compare it to, but I'm sure different plant medicine masters or leaders do things differently. And yeah, so I don't want to get into, I guess I don't want to, what do you want to know about? Because I can get all the crazy details. But
I guess if you felt that it was profound for you, did you have insights? And you don't have to share that if you don't want to, but
I'm happy to.
Okay, yeah, but I guess how it helped you heal, maybe, because these are plant medicines are supposed to help us heal. That's the idea. They were passed down, right? And disconnect from the hologram and move us within, right? Yeah. And so if you have anything like that you want to share, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So I'll get to the gist of it, because it's one of those things where the ceremony itself is interesting, but so I'll kind of do bullet points as opposed to a big, because that's, you can see it on the show if you are watching.
Right.
So bullet points with ayahuasca, or not ayahuasca, but with Wachuma, was that it did open my heart. We actually had some cannabis as well, which I'm a fan of cannabis. We have a history, cannabis and I, and so which is also a plant medicine.
The plant medicine, yeah.
You also have to be aware of not being dependent on it, which has been part of my journey, was learn to, like any relationship, you can be codependent on anybody, anything, any substance. Sure. And so for me, it's always that thing of like, am I, looking to her to solve something for me, or are we, is she hanging out, or enhancing each other? So with Wachuma, I had a point where I was in a meditative state, and I had some conflict with people on Facebook a couple weeks prior, just over the endemic pay and the ABJ, and all of that stuff. I don't want to say the actual word, so the algorithms work against you. So it's just in terms of, declaring my sovereignty, but in a way that's loving and, inclusive. And just kind of seeing, and I was just reacting to the world's reactions. I was getting really lost in what was happening in the world. And the Wachuma really did bring me back to my heart. And I just had this experience. I had this desire to have my hand on my friend's heart, all the people that I had, little quibbles or quabbles with, to put my hand on their heart, have them put their hand on my heart, and just be like, no matter what, I love you. No matter what, I love you. Nice. And then I just felt this big love for the people that I was in the group with. And I was like, oh yeah, heart, this is the heart medicine. This is what this is doing. It's just bringing me right into my heart. And then we would just, hang out and talk and share, I got to know this man better. Well, we were hanging out and chatting more, named Cardell, and his experiences with the plant medicine, with specifically Changa and ayahuasca, and where he went off into a space of just oneness, where it was just a resonant ball of resonant oneness. It looks physical, but it was vibration. Wow. And there was no good, no bad, no past, no future. It was just the vibration of the oneness. And he brought it back with him. He was able to bring it back, that sense with him, that emanation of oneness back with him, from that journey. And just hanging out with him, I just loved myself more. He was just somebody that, he's a gift. So the people were probably the biggest gift, honestly, getting to meet the people and getting to know these people. That was one of the biggest treasures of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the with the event of the Changa, man. So yeah, again, I'll try to stay focused. There's so many little funny details that I remember, like yeah, so just real quick, there's something called rape, which rape is a combination of ash and tobacco. And I didn't know this was going to happen. Again, there kept being things where I was like, what? We're doing what? I didn't know that. And so the rape, you put in something called a tepe, I think. It's just this little like wooden tube or whatever. And you shoot it into the person's nose.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And so, you know, like when you get water up your nose in the swimming pool,
Yeah.
it's 10 times worse than that. So you get it shot up one nose and then you're in pain and you're like when you can recover enough, then they shoot it up the other nose. And then afterwards though, I was like, this is great. Like that felt great because I just felt clear and resonant. Nice. I just felt like my head felt clear, my energy felt clear. Other people were like, you know, gagging and throwing up or like spitting up, I guess. And I was just like it didn't, like I loved it. It was just like little bits were coming out for me because it's going to be a purgative because you're releasing stuff, right? So you don't want to swallow anything that comes up. You want to spit it up. But I was like, and other people were like, blah, you know. So again, I just chalking this up to like the 2 weeks of cleansing. Also, I have a fairly clean diet, but all right. So then we get into the land of the ayahuasca, and I swig the ayahuasca. It's about 6 ounces, and Golden Seal tastes way worse than that. Like I was like, oh, this is fine. I didn't gag, didn't make me feel sick. And I didn't really I felt like a little bit like, so you're waiting for it to kick in. And I'm like, okay, am I going to see tracers? Like what's going to happen? And my stomach felt like a little like, oh, my stomach feels just a tiny bit nauseous, but nothing bad. Other people go into the bathroom, you know, the whole thing. And so then it comes time for the Changa. And that is one of the things that Drew said was like, well, by the second inhalation, you won't be able to see me anymore. And I'm like, I what now? Like, I'm not gonna, you know,
say what?
Like, yeah, it was just like more and more is getting revealed as it would go. And so the Changa was really like you're supposed to do 3 big inhalations, and you know, we talked about it. I was like, cool, got it down. But when you're actually going to do it, that's like for me, there was a panic that set in because it was like, wait, what am I putting into my body? What's Changa? I don't even know what I'm like. It was just like all of the ego being like, blah, 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 blah. And so, you know, I do really good, I think, with the first 2. And by this, you know, and I remember releasing the second one and going, oh dear. Because like all of a sudden things became luminescent, like the room, like there's just a glow in the room. Yeah. And I realized that I'm into a mental state that I have no control over. Like I'm in some place that is alien. And then I have the final one and I can't take it all the way. And I do my best, but it's just like your body's like, no more. And so I think it takes a little more experience for you to get the third one all the way in. But then so then like that's just, so when I close my eyes, that's when like the geometric shapes start coming in, and I can still see, like if I open my eyes, I can still see my feet in the room. Everything's like lit up as it's a glow. So for me, what happened was there were streams of, they looked like, it would be like this shape. Like, so if you were just to look at that shape right there of these 2 fingers, or these, you know, thumbs and fingers coming together in between this shape here. But on the little corners of it, and it's a geometric shape, but on the corners, there's like little numbers. There's numbers there, but there's strings of them that come in, and it's black, yellow, and white. And to me, it feels very invasive. It feels like I'm being invaded by aliens. And it doesn't feel like, because the whole thing's like, well, grandmother ayahuasca, it's a tough love, but she's loving. And I'm like, this, not real like love.
That's what I've heard, like, that she's tough.
Yeah. She's, and so, but to me, this just felt like I was being invaded by alien life forms that were going to pick me up and take me away into a portal that was like opening up over here. And the thing is that you can't describe, just like you having an NDE, being out of your body, going on the other side, there's no way you can really put words to the emotional, mental state that you're in over there. You can describe it to the best of your ability, but no one's ever going to get it. Like I can tell you about France, but if you don't go to France, you're not going to get it, right? It's a different experience. So Yeah, so for me, I was just like, oh no. I was like, this is something I don't want. I just want normal.
Yeah.
I like normal suddenly just sounded like the best thing in the world. And and I'm somebody who's like, I want to go on the edge. I want to have out of body experiences. I've always wanted to, like, again, having a hard time in life, just always wanted to vacate and escape, right? So this was the opposite experience of like, oh no, normal sounds fantastic. And so I felt myself go through like, as I was like, I want to go back to normal, and this normal became this thing I wanted. It was like, and I dropped out of the dimensions, and then I was able to still see and also I could see like this face come up that was like, wow, like wanting me to not like trying, like resisting my resistance, which happens with ayahuasca. If you start to resist her, she's like, I'm gonna come for you if you're gonna resist me. So it was like that kind of face appeared, but it was because I'd already pulled out of that dimension. It was just very weak and very pale. There's like there was nothing, it wasn't dramatic for me. And then it was like all of the shapes started to like droop and wilt, like they started to lose their form. The portal started to, like the shapes that were around the portal started to droop and wilt. And it was like, oh, you, like, there's like saying to me, the energy was saying like, oh, you ruined it. And I was like, sorry. I was like, sorry, not sorry, sorry. Yeah, I was just like, okay, meditation and breath work, that's what I'm going to do. And it was, the gift of it was me appreciating normal, me appreciating the physical. Like it was a reverse gift, because a lot of people who, when they go into using ayahuasca, I should say a lot, but there's a notable amount of people that use plant medicine because it's their last stop, because they are suicidal, like, you know, vets from, you know, Vietnam vet, not Vietnam, well, maybe Vietnam vets, but vets from the various wars that we've had over the, you know, decades. Will come, you know, Iraq wars, like we'll like they have PTSD, and like plant medicine is the thing that can help turn it around for them. Some people have plant medicine experiences and then have PTSD from their plant medicine experience, which I could see that if I had 8 hours of that, I would have been like, that would have been not great. Yeah. So Changa was a great way to put my head into the lobby door of that dimension, of that universe, and check it out, and then be able to say, ha ha, maybe later, and pull out, you know, and then walk away with this experience of these beautiful people and being like, yeah, I'm gonna do this inside my body. I'm gonna do it with breath work. I'm gonna do it with meditation. And, you know, if I do work with other plant medicine, it'll be, we'll see. You know, I mean, it gave me a whole new perspective on it. So
nice.
I hope that wasn't too rambly. I didn't go
no, that was, I love that. That's awesome. And I'll have your link to where you go more into more detail on your YouTube channel. But I could definitely relate to freaking out in a ceremony, because I've done psilocybin a couple of times and wachuma.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. Okay. And you know, when I was partying, a party girl, I would do mushrooms, you know.
Oh, right.
And laugh. Just, oh, this is going to be great. I just laugh. It's just fun. Mushrooms are fun. They're a fun energy. I was wrong. No, that I could write a book on those experiences. I've done 2 ceremonies, and I could write a book on both, probably each. And it wasn't something that I enjoyed. I'll have to say the second one was a little bit easier than the first one, but it was tough. And with the wachuma, I agree. It was the heart, and everyone in the room was covered in purple, surrounded in purple. With my experience, it was hard for me to get that taste down, though. Wachuma to me was awful tasting.
Well, Drew mixed it with like honey, a lot of honey and some cinnamon. So he was able to make it palatable. Yeah. So it was palatable. I've tasted worse, like with other regular herbs. So.
Yeah, but I can totally get the grid thing, and where I don't want this anymore. I can't wait to get in this experience. What the heck is these clowns are laughing at me? I see all this weird stuff. You know, I saw clowns in a machine, and it was just really weird. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really
weird. Mushrooms are trippy. Like I've done mushroom a few times, and I have to say it's always been super intense. And there's always like this fantasy of what it's going to be like, and it's never like that. It's just more like your personality is stripped off of you. Yeah. From my experience, and you just everything, you just feel everything. So anything that was like tucked away, your personality had sheathed somewhere, well, you're unsheathed now, and
Yeah.
anything could happen. Which is why I think you need to have a facilitator. If you're doing like high amounts of mushrooms, like there's one called the hero dose, is a certain like dosage where you're gonna like have a full blown experience. I would want to have a facilitator around, because I don't want to have to counsel. How do you counsel yourself when you've
Right.
just lost your mind?
Yeah.
Like,
You can't. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's, if anyone wants to do that, highly recommend a shaman or a facilitator, experienced facilitator, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we did it with the medicine woman, and I agree with you. And it's the experience of being with the group that is, I think, was the most profound thing of every ceremony I've been in. Is with those people that where you turn inside out in front. I knew the people in the ceremony I was in, but not in this way. And you turn, we're each turning inside out in front of each other, and being there as support. And it was an amazing experience. So thank you for sharing that, Kat.
Of course. Yeah.
So, and how that ties into Ascension, perhaps. I mean, how can it not, right?
Right.
Because the idea, I think, of plant medicine, and you might agree, is stripping away what keeps us earthbound, I guess you could say.
Well, it's humbling
3D.
the ego. It's definitely humbling I would say, because your association and understanding of reality completely shifts depending on the plant medicine. Like peyote versus wachuma, it's vastly different. Wachuma, I could do any day of the week, it'd be great. But the thing is to realize that we are in this continuum of energy, and that we are in a bubble. We experience a bubble of energy called the earth plane, but we are connected to this far vaster, greater universe, meta universe of energy, being light, color, dimension, sound, frequency, shapes that have their own life, that are alive and living. And everything we've been taught has been taught to keep us controlled and narrow and in certain boxes, and controllable, to keep us controllable. And again, just to give you an example of a beautiful man, Cardell, who was, I was having the heart talks with, as we were both standing there feeling our hearts and feeling how good this energy felt pulsating through our hearts, he was like, I used to feel this before normally, and I thought something was wrong, and I was given medication for it. So it's like this natural state of his heart being open and enjoy. It's like, oh, there's something wrong with that. That's not normal. I need to be medicated, or I need, doctors say, oh, that's not normal. We're going to give you some prescriptions because, we are so dumb. We're so dumb. And it's not a judgment. It's just like, the way that a child doesn't know a stove is hot, but it's also, we have parents who are like, telling this bad information. The system, everything that's around us is geared, the food, the entertainment, the air, what they put in the air, like all of it's geared to keep us at a lower frequency. But that's this dramatic point of change where we get to say, even your best efforts can't thwart oneness. Even your best efforts can't thwart ascension. It's inevitable.
Right. Yeah. And the more we fight it or resist it, the I guess the more difficult it is, because it's happening, whether we like it or not. Yeah. But you're right. We're pretty much dumbed down. Yeah. And to not realize, not be aware, like you said, aware. And my guide, Yeshua, has always told me, awareness is the key. Like you said, awareness is, we are awareness. To not be aware of and feel everything around us and see through the facade, the mask, the overlay of this hologram, the third dimension. So So with ascension and moving up in these dimensions now, plant medicine can definitely help us see through that veil.
Yeah, I just
Right.
recommend that you talk to your guidance about it and that you make sure it's right for you.
Totally.
Make sure plant medicine, ask your guidance if plant medicine is right for you.
Yes.
Because, you know, if you're, because if it's not and you're just being headstrong, then you're going to get a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, and that's also going to benefit you, but there's probably a gentler way of going about it.
Definitely. Yeah. Meditation helps tremendously. You know, and it's not for everyone, definitely not for everyone. It's just a path. It's one path. Meditation, when I was going in deep meditation 20 years ago, by the way, my NDE was 20 years ago, not 10.
Oh, 20, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Time flies. Yeah.
It does.
I know, right? 2001. And
2001.
yeah, so I was in deep meditation every night and fasting. And so I opened up big time with that. So there's lots of ways to be able to open up, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that profound. Like you said, these slower process of ascension is, I think that what most people are doing now, or what's happening as people wake up. And when I say wake up, meaning that they realize their life is not fulfilling for them, and they're seeing things and around them in their life and in the hologram, in the matrix, that may not be, you know, that we've been lied to for a very, very, very long time about what's true and what isn't. Yeah, what's real and what isn't. The only thing that's real, as we know, is love.
Absolutely. It comes back down to it. That's your litmus test. Is this love or is this fear? There you go.
That's the opposite of love. Yeah. So let's talk about the ascension process. And what is it? A lot of people ask me, what is this ascension thing that everyone's talking about? What's your take on that, Kat?
Yeah, and this is definitely my take, because I feel like you could talk to anybody and get a different answer. And so there are a lot of people out there who are, you know, I kind of position themselves as experts, but I don't know how you can be an expert in something that hasn't happened yet. Which is kind of my take on it, where it's like, well, you know, what is the ascension process? Well, what is it to you? Because we're experiencing it right now. And your experience is valid. Like, your journey with it is valid. And part of the ascension process is about owning your power. I would say a big part of it is to come to realize that you are source embodied, and that if you're looking for someone else to tell you how to do the ascension correctly, like, again, don't give your power away. Go to multiple people, have conversations, but take what's true for you and leave the rest. And if something's not right, it's not right. So for you, you know, and so in terms of what the ascension process is, from what I understand, like this physical plane, I'm getting chills. So this physical earth plane is been locked down to this specific density. So when we talk about dimensions and density, they're not the same thing. So let's just talk about frequency and vibration, because the words can be confusing. So the earth has been locked into a lower vibration, a lower frequency. And there has been attempts for the earth to rise into a higher vibration. Just like when I was on the Changa, like, I was going into an accelerated vibration, and things became luminescent. I was seeing things that my regular eyes couldn't see, because my frequency was now being vastly accelerated by the Changa medicine. So all of that energy is still always there. And those people who are psychic or have NDEs, who have their awakening, regardless of what that looks like for them, and they all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I can see this energy, I can see this frequency, and nobody else sees it. Am I going crazy? No, you're the same one. You're the same one, and the rest of us have just been tuned down enough that we don't see it, and there's no judgment. It's just part of the process. So in the process, that Gaia is a living being. If you can accept that Gaia is a living being, she's not just a planet, but she's got a consciousness, a great consciousness to her, because all things are consciousness, all things extension of source. So Gaia has been, you know, an expression of source that has been trapped and kept in a certain vibration, because there are those who benefit by service to self, by keeping others lower, in a lower density frequency, because when others are in a lower frequency and they're programmed to look for help outside, well, then you're going to give me your power. I can take your fear and use it against you. I can feed off your energy because you don't know that you're sovereign. You don't know your extension of source. You have to go to a church to find God. You have to go to a priest to know what God says. And it's all outside in as opposed to inside out. Mm-hmm. So in this process of ascension, Gaia is like, no more. I've got it. It's time for me to go. The baby's going to be born. And she's not holding back anymore. And and I know that, you know, Sharon, there have been so many star seeds that were sent and sent and sent because people just kept falling asleep and they couldn't wake up. It's so heavy and so dense here that people just could not wake up. And so, but now it's at a tipping point, and you know, a lot of the kids being born have full memory of, they come in with memory and they don't lose it. And that's, you know, so there's, as much as there is here to oppress us, like the light is finding ways to come in through the cracks and still seed that expansive vibration and frequency and have it expressed within this planet in this physical form through the physical people. So it is just an evolutionary state. It's just like if you think of a seed or a puppy, like there's different stages that they grow through, and there's inevitability where the seed becomes the leaves growing out of the ground, then it becomes a vine, and then it starts to become a tree. And those are the stages. And we've been stuck in, like, you know, twig stage for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it means that we have to realize that we are multidimensional. What does that mean? That we exist on many planes, that this is one expression of it, but we're not limited to this. Our perception says that we are, but reality is that we aren't. So things like plant medicine, meditation, breath work, those are the things that can open the pathways to realize that the rest of the universe is there, thriving, humming, singing, wanting to raise up with us and reconnect. And we've lost our history. It's been taken away from us. It's been hidden from us. You know, all of these ancient artifacts and ancient sites, and you know, the bones of giants, like, you know, all of those things that have, like, the Smithsonian takes and high. It's like anything that has the authority, has the power, will strip out our true history and be like, oh, well, when they made the pyramid, they must have used levers and pulleys. And it's like, it's idiocy, but like the idiocy becomes the narrative that everyone's like, yep, that's true, that's true, that's true. And the way they police that is if you buck against it, well, then you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. And we're peer pressured into believing things that are absolutely not true, because if we do, then we're the crazy one. Right. It's just the entire system is built to keep us confined. And Ascension is about saying, not anymore. I'm with Gaia. We're going to ascend. And what that looks like in her process, we can talk about that more, but I've gone on for quite a bit, so I'll let you.
No, thank you. I love it. That's I love that. And the spiritual warrior says, preach, brother.
Right on.
Yeah. Spiritual warrior, I felt what it feels like ecstasy on just transcendental meditation alone. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. And Stephanie Godino, Ascension to me has been an eye-opening experience where I realized there is a bigger purpose than simply being and doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely. So that was beautiful. Perfect. That's exactly how I feel about it. I don't think I could add anything to that. And we do go through cycles, right? Yeah.
So what do you mean by cycles? You tell me what you mean more by that.
By different year, you know, astronomically, astrologically, that type of thing, with different years, different cycles that we go through. What I understand is we're going through a 26,000 year cycle. We're at the end of a 26,000 year cycle where the harvest is happening. Mm-hmm. That we didn't make the grade in the last 26,000 year harvest. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of people that, what I understand is that there were a lot of people that stayed behind to help others that couldn't wake up, like you were saying. So there wasn't any harvest in the last 26,000 year cycle. So we're moving into another 26,000 year cycle where Gaia, like you said, is saying, you know, I'm moving up with or without you. So humanity And this is huge from what I understand, and what my guides tell me is that this is huge for a whole planet to move up, and all her beings are moving up, or as many as possible, definitely, are moving
Right.
up with her. Okay. And it's the whole universe, basically, at least the whole galaxy is watching Earth and aware of what is going on. So, so people that are here now, everyone here watching, and of course us, and everyone who's aware of this, are here for this reason. We didn't want to sit on the sidelines and just watch it. We wanted to be involved. Plus, we agreed to help as many as possible, not only wake ourselves up, right, first and foremost, so that we could, be on beyond that in that wave, but also help as many people as possible. And when we help ourselves, that's what happens. Would you agree with that? Or not?
I think, well, it's interesting because, again, there starts to become these different understandings, and understandings are based on perceptions, right? And so just like, having an ND experience and someone goes over and they see Jesus, somebody else, meets Buddha, or they see, Shiva, or, like, it's like people's experiences range. And so it's all based on those individual encounters and perceptions. And so I don't want to invalidate anybody else's by saying, because I'm going to throw some things out there that are just to help understand, because there is, on this planet for a long time, for however long we've been spinning around,
right?
I'll say since the fall, because pre-fall, where we started to experience duality, again, it was oneness, but incarnation was much lighter. So in the experience of duality, in this current density that we are experiencing, you can have somebody who is a sociopath, who's lives next door, and you have no idea they're a sociopath. You can have somebody who is just more giving and loving than Mother Teresa, and lives down the block. This other person is a habitual liar, and whatever. So we have all these different densities. This person is a devout Catholic. This person is a Hindu. This person is and we have all the differences because this is one big sphere in which contrast gets to play out over and over again. And the way you have contrast is through opposition. And you get to have the compare contrast, and that's where this richness has come out of, in terms of, that's one of the benefits of being here. It's why, even though we're here, we're like, this is crazy, get me off the planet. Souls, very brave souls, want to come here because once you pop out of here, you are going to resonate in the frequency that you're going to, in the frequency that you resonate, you will find others that resonate with just like you.
Right.
And you form natural pods, or in natural clusters, because resonance finds resonance. It matches and meets itself. In this dimension, we do encounter that, where I don't, I may not encounter that sociopath, but he could be living right next door to me. It's like we're still in here together. On the other side, without the physical, it's all frequency and vibration. So you separate off into your tribes, or your levels, and where you're at.
Right.
And so with the ascension process, and so I give that as a pretext to say that with the ascension process, the idea is that people say the earth is splitting in two. I feel like that's a metaphor. However it's going to happen, whether there is a micronova that comes, and we experience something, a solar flare from the sun, and that creates a shift where some people are going to experience Earth very differently, and other people are going to experience another physical incarnation. Like, in terms of how we split apart, because frequency, it's like the frequencies can no longer be compatible anymore.
Right.
They can't hang out. It's like you just see it's being fed, especially on social media. We're just being taught to hate each other and to make fun of each other. And you're crazy if you think that, and if you think this, and you're that, and like it's being fed. The split is being fed to us. And those who are going to engage in the conflict, engage in the fight, engage in the war, engage in the hatred, that's a frequency that Gaia is no longer going to tolerate. And she's going to be like, no more, get out. And it's not, and so my understanding is that the people that can't resonate with that new earth vibration, they are going to have to go someplace else, and they'll have to incarnate someplace else so they can continue that. And there's no judgment. Like, that's a choice. That's that soul's choice. That soul might have said specifically, I want to come to the planet. I want to experience this ascension. I'm not going to do the ascension, but I want to come close and experience it. So when I go on the other planet, I have that frequency with me, and I can go to this planet and bring that there. It's like souls choices to do whatever they're doing is divine, and we don't judge them for that. That's
Totally.
not our place to do that.
I always like to say it's, like being in school, where a second grader doesn't judge a kindergartner, it's just in a second grader, meaning they just have more earth experience, right? Whereas a kindergartner doesn't have as much earth experience. So you can't teach a kindergartner what a second grader has learned, or a third grader, because I consider us definitely not past third or fourth grade when it comes to the larger scheme of spirituality. And so there's no judgment there.
No. And there may be some beautiful light workers, some divine souls that just couldn't come out of the sleep, and for whatever reason they chose, it's like their soul's like, well, it's okay. Because time and space is an illusion. So it's okay for them to come back and do a density and experience it. There's just no judgment. Are you familiar with Sherry Wild? Sherry Wild, don't you?
I read her book like 3 times. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because I feel like I've talked with you. I've talked with you several times. I can't remember all that we've talked about. Sherry Wild. I love Sherry Wild. I just love her. She's going to be on the show in October.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. Yes, it's going to be so. Oh, I just love her. So she's just somebody so authentic and real. It's like the more she would talk, I would just be like, you are real. You are like, she's just genuine. She's the genuine article. And one of the things that she saw is that one of her purposes on the planet, because this is the first time and only time she's been on the planet. She came in, she's an ET soul that came in specifically for this mission. And wow, did she sign up for a lot. Yeah. She really, really did. But one of her things is, it was like she was able to see who's going to stay and who's going to go. And who's going to stay, meaning who's going to stay with Gaia post-ascension and hang out and work on the planet, and who was going to be like, they weren't going to be able to stay. They were going to need to go because that frequency wasn't going to be what they wanted. They weren't going to be able to match that frequency for whatever reason. Again, no judgment. So it's just this very interesting thing of knowing that there are people who are going to stay with Gaia, who are going to be assisting her post ascension, because people are like, oh, in the ascension, I'll finally get off the planet. I'll finally be able to leave the planet. No. And the ascension is about being with the planet and staying on the planet and being a new earth leader. It's not about leaving the planet. Maybe your soul will, because you'll have fulfilled your contract and you did what you needed to do. And so after ascension, you're here for a little while, then you take off because that's all you needed to do. And I feel like other people like me, I feel like I'm here for like post-ascension, another couple of lifetimes to help out with the planet and stabilizing the new earth, with the love vibration. That's what I feel like.
No, I get you on that. I've seen visions of myself being on the planet post-ascension and helping to stabilize and reseed some things too. So that makes sense to me. That resonates. Of course, yeah.
Awesome. You and me, sis.
I know, right? I love that. Sherry Wild. So if anyone doesn't know who Sherry Wild is, she's an amazing author that wrote the book, The Forgotten Promise, and she has extraterrestrial experiences and
how,
right? Amazing book. That book triggered me like crazy. Doula. Ooh, every time I say his name, I feel emotion from him. Doula, wow. her, yeah. So there's a connection there somehow, or something with my peeps. But anyway, good stuff. And they're here to help us, the extraterrestrials. We want to get into that subject, but that wasn't on my list, but we could talk about it. Yeah, they're here to help us because we're connected. There's just no way out of it. We're connected, and we've taken on human form to be here and to help the planet. And I agree with you. I live on the river. I'm so blessed to be able to live on the river. And I was out there this morning, paddleboard, and I was thinking, this is a fifth dimension. It's just so peaceful. And it's not a place. It's a state of mind. And what you surround yourself with. It's not, and it took me a while to understand that. 20 years ago is when I started getting all this information, right? Mm-hmm. So I was out there, I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is what Gaia has to offer us, all this beauty, and honoring that and being in oneness with, with her, however we do it, but treating her with respect and everyone on the planet with respect and love. So it's a state of mind. Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Let's talk about that, because
let's do that, because it's more complicated than just that. I know that.
Yeah, because people talk about 3D and 5D. It's like, well, what about 4D? And so and again, people, I think we get our language confused around is it 5 dimensions or 5 density? What are you talking? And so I think about it being like, here's how I see it, is that this physical world is 3D. It's physical at 3. It's at that level. 4D to me is the astral realm, where you are not crossed over into the whether you're astral projecting and having OBEs, or if you're a soul that just is confused or hasn't wanted to cross over. There's the 4th dimension, where that's you're not corporal, but you can still experience things as physical, because you're not, haven't left the 3rd completely. It's in between. Mm-hmm. And 5th dimension is where that is where I think when we're living in 5D and you're physically in 5D, then your body is lighter, and you might experience your body as physical, but doesn't have the same density. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have the same trappings as this one. So you can have a 5D body, but it is more built out of light as opposed to physical. And however, that dimension where all of that exists and lives already, because there's no time and space in reality, that is something that we can access and anchor into this experience. And that's part of our job as being light workers, is to anchor that here, so we are facilitating Gaia's ascension. How do you think about that? Does that sound accurate?
I love that. And as we're taking on more light as we heal, right? And as we clear our stuff, we take on more light. Because I just see it's coming into this life with our baggage, our backpack, mm-hmm. with all this baggage, and we take out little by little so that we can fill up with more light. The density drops off. Things start to drop off. These are symptoms, but totally, I agree with you. And then the more light we take on, the speaking about 3D, the more we're not attracted to denser foods as well. And I found that was the number one thing for me is, I wasn't eating meat. I didn't want it. I just wasn't attracted to those types of foods, and processed and foods and things like that. You start to gain a appreciation for fresh. You might want to go raw as much as possible, because then your body becomes lighter, and the more lighter you are, the more light you can take, and the easier it is for you to move up in frequency, because the more stuff that we have that we're dragging around, the more difficult it will be if we get to that point when it happens. If there's a cutoff point, I don't know. I keep hearing about 2030, around there. 2029, 2030 is I don't know, but that's what I keep hearing about.
Well, yeah, and I think it's one of those things where I've heard, in terms of timelines, gosh, I've been asking about the Ascension like back in 1993 or 94, you know what I mean? And it's always like soon, it's soon.
Soon.
And that's 30 years, whatever soon means. Mm-hmm. And so, and I would encourage people to like start listening to your body, because I think that there might be some people's, your lineage might be somebody that you come from a lineage where meat is important to your health, but if you do eat meat, like, do it ethically, where the animal
Sure.
had a good life, and where your meat's coming from. And it's again, I just think about it this way, where it's like, whatever we do to another, we invite to do or have done to ourselves. So if I look at animals as a food source, and then there are ETs that see me as a food source, well, that's fair, because I'm living that belief into the world. So it's like, if I don't want that to be my reality, then I don't want to practice that reality, right? And so I'm a pescatarian, so I eat fish and seafood, which I love. But I always, say a prayer and a thanks to the fish, and I just
Sure.
send it a bleep ton of love. I'm just like, sending it love and gratitude. And I'm not gonna. It's because the other thing you can do is be like, oh gosh, I'm eating meat, and I should be doing, like, and you start living all the shoulds, and that's gonna be just as heavy as anything you put into your body, like beating yourself over the head and shoulders, whipping yourself. That's density. So
Right.
just start to listen to your body and start to pay attention to your body. Start to have, like with everything else, have a relationship. If you're smoking cannabis, have a relationship with cannabis. If you're eating meat, have a relationship with your meat. If you're, like whatever you're doing, if you're talking to God, have a relationship with God. Like, it's about the relationship. That's where the information and the richness comes in.
Perfect. Yeah. And I didn't have any judgment about eating meat. I just wasn't attracted to it anymore. And
Right.
I'm pescatarian for quite a while, but my tastes have changed even from that. I was eating salmon quite often. I love salmon, but it's just like you said, it's a personal choice. Totally.
Well, it's an evolution. It's your evolution.
Yeah.
Because like gosh, I'd love to have, me and alcohol, love to have imbibe and just relax and kick back, right?
Yeah.
And especially like my friend Psychic Shane over in Fort Collins would go in his hot tub, hang out and drink wine, connect with our guides, just have a great time. But now, like the last few times I tried to drink, like, well, one day I just woke up and I was like, after I was just like drinking whiskey, watching some shows, relaxing, going to bed. Next morning, it's not that I'm sick to my stomach, but my body's like, get it out. And I just had to like throw up and like, I just had to throw up. And then the other time after that, like my body was like almost wanting to throw up, but I could kind of like, I forced myself to keep it down. And then another time it was like, I was just the next day was just lost. Like I just needed to sleep. My body was so tired. And it was like, oh my God, my body does not want alcohol anymore. My body doesn't want alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't drink anymore. It's like, I'll have this, like, Shane will be like, give it a try, taste it, see if you like it. And I'm like, oh, it's delicious, but I'm not gonna get tipsy anymore, because my body is like, and I know the same thing will at some point probably happen with cannabis, where my bodies could be like, you don't need this anymore. Like, you're not, this isn't benefiting you anymore. And it'll be an evolution point, but I'm not going to freak out about it in the meantime.
No, and that's the shift. That's the shift we're making. We're shifting. Yes. We're shifting into these higher frequencies, and our body's saying, no, had enough of that. We enjoyed it while we had it, bless it, exactly. Bless it. And thank you for that experience. But I'm good now. I'm moving on to something else. I'm shifting into something else. Yeah. Which is part of the symptoms. And we're talking about ascension symptoms. And also, I think, and I know for me and a lot of people that I've talked to and work with, that another part of the ascension symptoms is relationships start to fall away, situations start to fall away,
or blow up.
Yeah.
I just want to say this quick analogy, because Gaia is going through a birth process, and so there's a birth canal, and we are the ones in the birth canal, right? So all of your stuff is being squeezed in that birth canal. So anything that doesn't match that resonance is going to come up, and you're going to have to expel it or hang on to it and sink down and go with it. Like, you can either resist it and suffer, or you can release it that you are in a birth canal, you're being squeezed for the purpose of rebirth, because whatever does not match that vibration is going to be squeezed up and out for you to release it. You choose to hang on to it, it's going to just get harder.
Yeah, well said, definitely. So, and some other ascension symptoms, I find, physical symptoms. Ringing in the ears was something that I still am dealing with and was dealing with in the very beginning, and being very sensitive to different frequencies around me. Do you have anything like that, Kat, that you've experienced with these?
Well, I hear pings in my head, but that's my guides talking to me. Because I've had that for years.
They
ping
actually
me in the head.
Ping you. Nice.
They ping me. Boing. And so I'm still learning how to listen to that. And it's like there's a warning ping that will come in that it's always a warning ping, and I'll know what that is. But other ones, it's just like what I've finally gotten is that they're communicating with me all the time, and they're just asking me to slow down and listen. So it's just, for me, I feel like that's what it's showing up for me as, with tones and sounds. Other than that, like I would say my personal ascension symptoms show up more in the universe reflecting back to me the things that I still need to work on. Like my impatience, especially with technology. And I'll just say this, that my star lineage has a royal bend to it. So there's part of me that is like, do you know who I am? I wanted this yesterday. Who are you? So like I have that within it shows up in my personality. And I really try to curtail that a lot, because like, oh my God, that's a lot. But like it's there. It's like there's this expectation, there's this demand. And it's like, well, that's one of the things that brings you misery. That makes you really unhappy, because you come out of the moment. I mean, not that I've got living the moment down. That's still another thing I'm still definitely a novice on. But it's like the universe is saying, oh yeah, whenever you get upset about that, you just lost your power. You gave your power to that thing that you said was upsetting for you. Look at all the triggers you still have, and they're not being sassy. I tend to interpret them in a more sassy way than they show up. Usually, there's one that's kind of sassy, but most like throw things back in my face, and I'm like, okay, I had that coming to me, I guess. But it's more of the thing of me catching where I'm perpetuating my own dissatisfaction and being like, did you want to take ownership of that?
Yeah,
because you can, or you can just have a hissy fit, and you already know what that looks like. You want to keep doing that? Let's say that's how it shows up for me these days.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate a little bit to that. Well, definitely relate to challenges seem to come up, and I need to deal with them then rather than later. When I do have a challenge, I feel the need. I just have to, because like you said, it adds fuel to different fires if I don't deal with it then. If I have a challenge. But also with me, I've noticed, and people I've talked to, that we become more telepathic as you move up in frequency, where if you're really connected, you probably get this anyway, where someone's going to call and then they call, or someone's at the door and there they are, or something like that. But conversations become so telepathic that we are, my screen changed on me, that we are, sorry.
It's okay.
All these things came up, where we're pretty much communicating telepathically. We know what the other person's going to say, and we're having that telepathic communication on a regular basis. And so it's normal. We realize that it's actually normal to have that. The other way is abnormal, not to telepathically communicate. So that's another symptom that I believe that a lot of us are going through. And sometimes it's like, wow, this is really crazy. This is weird, because if you're going through it, you think it's really weird and strange, but it's actually normal.
It's like, again, thinking back to my friend whose normal heart state was open and wonderful, and he thought it was weird, so he tried to medicate it, or he did medicate it. And I think that is, I want to talk about the whole, gosh, this is a point I think that there's so many different interpretations and perspectives on it. But it's like, when does ascension happen? Like, when's the critical turning point? Because we can say, yes, we are in the ascension process.
Right.
But then there seems to be a critical turning point where either it's connected to the solar flare, the micronova, where the Earth goes through a radical change. That's the thing that resonates with me. And there can be a lot of fear around it because of Earth changes, but it's actually, that's the whole point of being tuned in and turned on, is that you're going to be working with the Earth changes. It's not going to hit you, you're going to be with them, when it happens. So, but there seems to be a turning point where we're going to cross a certain line in frequency where it's like, oh, this is a higher frequency, this is a higher dimension, and oh, I am telepathic. Oh my gosh, we're all telepathic. I can hear your crappy thoughts about me, and it's like that's the thing. Is like, we want to start practicing those things now. I don't know that I'm very telepathic, but I'm very empathic for sure. And I pick up things empathically, and I can see things. I definitely get downloads and see things about how the universe works and whatnot. But the point is that if we don't, embrace those things and start working with them, when the big shift happens, where the tipping point finally tips, and the people who can't be on the planet anymore, and those who stay, like, you want to have done your work ahead of that, so that way you're not like, oh, this is really painful, I can hear people's thoughts. It's like you've gotten some leverage on that, you've gotten some traction on that, so you're not, a kid that's been a toddler that's been tossed into the deep end. It's like, you want to be able to get your bearings and know how to navigate that somewhat.
Yeah, good point. That's part of the whole process too, is becoming more empathic and feeling more, shedding as we do our work, and shedding those layers, those covers that we've, those coats that we keep piling, protection that we keep piling on, definitely. And we do become more empathic, not just with people, but situations and animals and the planet, ourselves, definitely. And understanding and talking to our body too, like you were saying, and feeling more and realizing that our body is telling us something if we have something going on with our body, and listening to our body and trusting it. So trust is number one, right? Trusting what we're getting, instead of, and don't think you're crazy. You're not crazy. This is part of the process, definitely. So a thought came to me, now I can't remember what it was.
It's all good. It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back around. So, but I'll go to my next point here. What's your thought, Kat, on do we need to be aware of the ascension process? There's because a lot of us have circles around us who are not woo-woo like we are, I guess you could call it, and they have their day-to-day job, and that, of course, no judgment, whatever, people are trying to get by, but is the best they can and living their life. And so do you think that people need to know about this in order to maybe move into these higher frequencies? What's your take on that?
Well, I feel that if it's important for you to know, then it's important for you to know. And I don't know that, I think in terms of getting other people on board with the ascension process, I don't feel like that's our job. I feel like it's our job to embody it. And it's more about people seeing the changes in us and getting curious about the changes in us. And that we can extend love and compassion to them and let them make their own choices. I don't need to convert you to my way of believing and seeing, even if it's like, oh, well, I want to make sure you make the ascension process. I don't want you to have to, incarnate. It's like, well, don't get caught up in that. That's not yours to choose for somebody else.
Right.
And in terms of, us being aware, those of us who are already in the water, splashing around, wanting to be aware of the ascension process, that is what makes me think of like a fish doesn't know that does a fish know that it's in the water? And if you want to really know what you're navigating and how to navigate it, become aware of it. Like if you want to know how to navigate the ascension process, become aware of your own energy, become aware of your heart matrix, become aware of your breath, and become aware of the energy around you. Start expanding your consciousness through very simple, easy exercises to be able to become aware of the greater wave that we are riding. And like if you're a fish in the water and you become aware that you are now riding a wave, you have more options to you versus being just thrown by the wave, right? If you're like, oh, I'm in a wave, I'm aware, I'm in a wave, what I need to face this way. I need to, put my fins this direction. I need to, prepare for whatever and be present to this moment of this wave so I can make the best next choice when the wave crashes down and the transformation hits. That's useful.
Yes, and that reminds me of the point that came back around, definitely. So I believe that part, and just what you were saying, is that we need to be aware in these times, especially of our thoughts, conscious as we move through our day, right? Instead of being unconscious, we're so used to being unconscious as we move through our day, and things like that. And so,
is your boyfriend making noise in the background? Yeah. Darn him. I know,
right? Doesn't he know? Okay. So moving through life, being aware of our thoughts, like you said, being aware of how we move through our day, how we interact with people and things like that, or interact with others, is part of the process. Because like you said, as we move up into the fifth dimension, or the fourth density, as Law of One calls it, move into the heart. Basically, we're moving from the solar plexus density into the heart, the green ray. We're an open book. There's just no way around it. It's something that we have to get used to, being conscious of how we move throughout our day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what we think, and knowing that our thoughts are creating as we've gotten so used to being scattered and fragmented. I feel this is our opportunity, is to find that, take the time to balance our thoughts and bring them present. Like you said, being present. And I know that I'm just as scattered as the next person, or anybody, that I have to spend time. It takes me an extra probably 30 minutes just to bring my thoughts present in my meditations, 20-30 minutes. So it's really important, I feel, to be conscious of our thoughts, of our actions, and not just go through our day like a zombie.
Yeah, as part of taking ownership that we are source incarnate, and that we are always creating. You're either creating consciously or unconsciously, and you can be creating from deep buried emotions that had never been resolved, and you're like, why does this keep happening? I've done all this work, I do my meditation, I do my affirmations, but our bodies are physical and they anchor frequency and energy. Emotions are energy. Trauma is energy. If you have something in your body that is a long held trauma, it has a resonance, and it will draw things to your life again and again. And until you go through that and clear that, whether that is through therapy or through plant medicine, or whatever it is, just practicing awareness. I'm aware that I'm feeling this way. I have anxiety. I will be with my anxiety. I'm not going to try to suppress my anxiety. I will make a space for my anxiety. I will just, I will let it unfold itself in front of me without any demands or expectations. It's important that we find, and my God, I keep thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I've cleared things really well. I'm good now, right? And it's like, oh no, there's another whole other building over there that you gotta walk over to and start clearing that one out too. And it's like I can kick and scream about that, or I can just get to work and be like, well, this is what I gotta do. And each time I do this, I learn something and I can give that to somebody else. So it's just a thing, because I'm kind of off on a tirade here, but it's just, I think about things about like manifestation and like Abraham and the channel Abraham and things like that. And there just seems to sometimes be a hyper focus on feeling good all the time. But like, if no matter, you can only put so many layers, slather positivity over yourself so many times before what has not been resolved finally reaches up and grabs you by the throat and says, look at me. And you can either have that experience in a very dramatic way, or you can consciously work with it so that way you can deal with it at levels and stages, and it doesn't have to be quite so dramatic.
Yeah, I agree. That's what keeps us heavy, is things that we don't deal with. And going back to, do people need to know about the ascension process? If we're not doing our personal work, our personal growth, that kind of thing, you don't have to do it in a new age way, but instead of burying our issues and burying what's keeping us, in a place of sedentary life, that kind of thing, stagnant, thank you. Yeah, then it'll come up somehow, some way, whether it's in health or emotionally, all of it. Yeah, perfect. Oh, so are there any questions? We talked about the cycles. That was another note I had. And people who we talked about that. People working on themselves who aren't working on themselves, not aware of the shift. So did you want to say anything more about that, Kat?
Well, just to, if you see somebody who's not working on themselves, to let them not work on themselves, like send them love and exemplify your love through being present. But if you're working on somebody really hard to get them there, there's a good chance you're avoiding your own work.
Yeah.
Because people who love projects, that people like, when they see somebody like, oh, that's a good project. It's like, well, then, back up a little bit and see if there's something in them that's actually a mirror for you to work on instead.
Perfect. Because we're all mirrors for each other, aren't we?
Exactly. 100.
Yeah. The spiritual warrior. I thought my heart issues were scary until I heard of heart chakra awakening. Oh, nice. I also get ringing in the ears. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. I know I get it when my frequency is shifting. So it still happens. And that's what my guys have told me, is I feel a frequency shift when that happens with me. Let's see here.
It can impact your sleep too. I would say that's probably where it shows up for me, is my sleep. And again, it's a surrender process. But there are there's a certain like technique. This is my friend Linda from our show, Paradise Fun. Like you can go through and like actually just massage your fingers. Like massage your fingers, do it slowly. I'm doing it really, fast to demonstrate. Then, also your thumb, and then do that on all your hands, because there are meridian points on the tips of your fingers. So if you do that, it will help balance out your body's energy. So as the higher frequencies are turning up, you can help your body just immediately by starting to massage your fingers, and especially the tips of your fingers. And that will help put your body into a more balanced, even state.
Nice.
So there's a hot tip from Linda Coulter-Burge.
Thank you, Linda. I love that. I'll remember that. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say that came to mind a minute ago was, as humans, we have a really hard time with letting go and not being in control. And I was thinking about that when you were sharing your medicine, their plant medicine ceremony, is letting go. I had a really hard time with that. It's just letting go and letting it happen, or letting the experience happen.
Not trying to control it, because we think it's supposed to look a certain way. That's the whole thing, is we think it's supposed to look a certain way, so that we try to, if it doesn't look that way, then we can start to judge it, or we can try to start to control it so it does look that way. And both of those are just taking you out of the moment.
Right. Yeah. And when you're in that space, and I've had out of body experiences as well, where I shift from who I am here into something totally different, and it's a real shocker to me. But I think that that's a lot more gentle than plant medicine, to be honest with you. So if you want to
Yeah,
travel and experience that kind of stuff, I highly recommend out of body experience.
that's the way I want to go too, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, so let's see. Does anyone have any questions? Let me see if I have any here. Spiritual warrior. I found myself here because I found myself on a twin flame journey, which is one type of ascension process. Fun. Oh. Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that, Kat?
I know a wee bit about it. I'm not, because your twin flame can be incarnated or not incarnated, and it's different than a soulmate. Your twin flame, from my understanding, is the, and the thing is, it's so wibbly wobbly because we are fractals of fractals of fractals. When we look back up to the universe in terms of oneness, we're all coming down from oneness, and we're all fractals of the oneness. So, but my understanding of a twin flame is, it's like the whole Adam and Eve story. It wasn't just that. It's not like, or a rib was a magic wand and boom, we have Eve, but it was a splitting of one person, of one being, into two beings. And so, I mean, gosh, if you want to deal with your life lessons, marry your exact mirror, because they're going to just, it's one of the most intense, from what I understand, because it's not my personal experience, but it's one of the most intense things you can have, because you're literally dealing with your mirror opposite self. That was the other part of you at the point of like division of souls from from one into male to female, or feminine masculine. So that's my understanding of that. And that is a
Yes,
very intense, it's like, it's people are just like, oh, I just want to find my twin flame. Like, be careful what you wish for, sister.
I agree. Totally agree. And that's what I tell people as well, is if you haven't worked on your stuff, then and you come across, well, that's where our soulmates are for, to help us work on each other's stuff, which is the lower step down, what I understand, step down version of our twin flame or twin ray. And so if you still got that stuff going on, and that's going to happen between you, and so it can be very, very intense. So I understand it's pretty rare to have that on the earth plane, because it's so volatile.
Right.
But hey,
more power to you. If you're in it, more power to you.
Exactly. Okay, so spiritual warrior, how do you astral project? How do I astral? I've been doing this for about 20 years. I use exercises where I project through body movement. I use the in-between state. I haven't been able to do it through meditation, although I do mental project through meditation, but not out of body, where I could turn around and see my body in the bed, that kind of thing. So it's the in-between state, the alpha theta state, is how I astral project. And I'll find myself out of my body somewhere, and I know I'm conscious on other planets, all kinds of really cool stuff. Yeah. And as a different being, like I was saying, as an extraterrestrial being, or I'll just move up out of my physical body. And sometimes it's really hard to tell whether you're in an astral body or physical body. It's so physical, very, very physical. And you can have experiences in the higher astral planes, or in the astral planes that are actually more physical than here. They feel more physical than here.
Feel more physical. Yeah, that's my understanding too, because it's a mirror world of this one, or it's a, but again, once you start exploring those different levels, there are levels within levels. But there are tons of books and guides and how-tos on how to astral travel, and how to have OBEs. And one thing you can do is just to help yourself is to start practicing lucid dreaming. And that's could be a gentle way of doing that. That's something I want to get back more into. And there's like little easy things you can do throughout the day for lucid dreaming. You can leave yourself little like notes here to say, okay, it's time to check to see if I'm actually dreaming or not. And so it's like you'll do things where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna have this cup. Does it fall? Is there anything that looks different? Is there anything that's unusual? Some people can't read like the if they open a book in the astral, they can't read it. Others can perfectly. Yeah. I can't. I don't. The words always change. So I know that there's certain things where it's like, oh, this is a dream. This is a dream. And there'll be little cues. Like the cat just changed into a baby. Okay, that's not gonna happen. So it's like, it's again about your awareness. So the more you practice awareness, the greater your capacity to do these things is, which tells you where I'm at in practicing my awareness. So
no, that's awesome. Those are great tips. The reality checks and finding something real, because in our dream state, we're just used to, walking through the dream state like a zombie. Whatever happens, oh yeah, okay. Well, there's a pink elephant here. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh,
there's
that's
a dinosaur.
Normal. Just kidding.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of how we walk through life here. A lot of us.
Exactly.
So so becoming more conscious helps us become more conscious there.
Exactly.
And the more that we wake up here, the more awake we are there as well. Yeah. So lucid dreaming is a really gentle way. And when you find yourself in that lucid state, you can project from there. But I learned from Robert Peterson. He has a book online that's free. I actually teach a course on out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming. And William Buhlman, who's a master, the masters, Robert Monroe, the Monroe Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Monroe Institute has classes, CDs. There's so many things that you can just. The Monroe Institute is a huge resource. I was using I need to go back into that and do that, because I was having a good experience with it where I saw, I'm in chills. It was whoever the gal was that brought in Reiki to the world. I saw her come down in a green robe. Like she was like, "Oh, so happy to see me." She's just smiling. She's gonna hear everything's fun. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I had no expectation, right? You're just in this meditative state and I'm starting to see stuff. And so for me, like I would vouch for the Monroe Institute. Tons of discs out there it's like CDs. I imagine now that it's got to be downloadable these days. Back in the days of CDs. But yeah, it's probably just downloadable now.
Yeah, they have lots of. They're the ones who Robert Monroe actually invented the binaural beats, or they called it hemisync, hemisphere synchronization.
Hemisync. That's it.
Hemisync. Yeah, he invented it. He and some others invented it. So when his patent ran out is when people started calling it binaural beats and using it. Yeah, because it's so huge. But highly recommend their stuff, and I highly recommend taking courses with them. They're life-changing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. So astral projection, I think exploring our multidimensionality is probably one of the biggest things we can do for our spiritual progress.
I would concur. Just because I started having discoveries, and this was, using cannabis, which helps expand my consciousness, until you abuse it, and then it doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
But I was dipping into so much, because I'm very mental. Like I have a very strong mental mind. And that probably sounds strange, but it's just that I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking. And it's just like I'm a metal in Chinese medicine. I'm a metal. And so it's just, I'm very, anyway. So which can be a blessing and also a curse when it's like, don't overthink it. Too late now. Like, that's how I live. But I was having experiences where I was tapping into other selves that were living other lives, and I was like, what is this? It was like, this is my constellation. I have a constellation of immediate beings on this level that are incarnate in other places, but they have more access, and they're not as dense, and they're not in the same density that I'm in. But it's like they were like curious about what's it like to be you? What's it curious to be in your body? And just these realizations that there are other aspects, like it's constellation is the best way I can say it.
I love
Where
that.
they are all me, I am all them, but we're having completely different experiences on different planes.
Mm-hmm.
But we have more immediate access to each other
Mm-hmm.
because we are an immediate cluster of souls that are in whatever resonance field. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I think
Okay.
Seth calls it our monad. Seth speaks. Seth. I
Oh,
think he
Seth.
calls it
Oh,
our
yeah.
monad. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and I believe that Robert Monroe calls it our other selves. But yeah, I've many times I've found myself projecting to my other self,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing some or being in a really cool situation that I have, I have kids, I have a life, I have a mate there, and things are just very different, but I'm me.
Mm-hmm. At the same time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the same time. Yeah. So it's my biggest epiphany, I think, of out of my experience, one of them anyway, is in the very beginning, is when I left my body and I turned, and something told me to turn around and look at the bed, and I looked and saw my body in the bed, and I realized, wait a minute. First of all, I didn't know who that was. I just saw the blankets and my blonde hair, and I was looking at, who is that in my bed, and I realized that was my body. But I'm like, that's not me. This is me. This light, this consciousness is me. And I had absolutely no attachment to that body that was laying in the bed. I just thought, my thought was, that's just a bag of bones. That's just a car. It's just a vehicle. That's what came to mind.
No, it's true. That's especially
Yeah.
with NDEs, people have that experience too,
Mm-hmm.
where they look back and they're like, "Who is that?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Yeah,
feel so bad for her.
I know.
But there's no association that it's you.
Yeah, it's just a vehicle. This body, we're actually conditioned to be so attached and identify with our body, but this is definitely not who we are. It's just a vehicle. Our
It
bodies
is
are a
just a
vehicle.
vehicle, but I also want to. It's easy then for people to discount their body, but your body is a gift.
Oh, sure.
Like yeah. Make sure that you understand again what's your relationship to your body, because it is keeping you anchored on this planet, and you're on this planet for a reason. And respect your body, love your body, and you have to reprogram your body because your body is carrying all the beliefs that you were given growing up as a child. You picked up consciously and unconsciously. That's why I love like Dr. Joe Dispenza's work so much, because it's all about going into the quantum field and creating a new template for your body and being. And I'm again just dabbling in that, but like that's where it's at. You don't want to discount your body. I see my body. I had this dream. I'll tell you this real quick if that's okay.
Oh, of course.
It's just a good analogy where this was years ago, where I was just in a really struggling place, trying to be an entrepreneur and doing all the things you're not supposed to do, like making all the mistakes. And so, I'm all in my head again, just stressed out all the time. And I had a dream where like there was this dog and he was on the patio, and the dog's like stuck in the patio, and then the dog's like on this table, and then an electrical charge goes through his body, and he dies. And what I got from that was like, this dog represents your body. Like if you neglect it to this point, something's going to happen and it's not going to be good. Like you cannot ignore your body. Your body wants to go for walks. Your body likes to explore things. Your body wants to have its own experience. If your body's physical, it wants to have a physical experience in the physical world. It wants that. And if you neglect that, it's like keeping your dog on a leash inside your front porch, and you never let them go out and play. You never it makes them want to cry. So like our body is craving these certain things, and when we neglect it, we suffer. And it's there meant to be an ally for us. It's our vehicle while we're here. It's meant to be an ally. And yeah, we do have to reprogram it because we're on a crazy planet where the insane asylum is on the outside. So we do have to do our due diligence and rectify those things and upgrade those things if that's in our life our life path, in our contract, if we're meant to experience a different way, then there's no judgment. But it's like, if you want to be conscious with your body, then be conscious with your body and listen to what, does your body really love swimming? Does your body really love rock climbing? Does your body love biking? What does your body love to do? Pay attention to it and give that to your body and reward it. You know, it's your best friend on this physical plane.
Beautiful. Definitely. Yeah, everything, and our body has a consciousness, you know,
It does, has its own consciousness.
own consciousness.
Absolutely
Yeah,
does.
definitely. Yeah. So listening to it, like we talked about earlier, listening to our body is really, really important. Really important.
I'll tell you this thing, that this is like way back in my 20s. And again, it's like, I have these moments, right? I wish I was constantly this cool, that when these things happened and they were my new norm.
You're pretty cool.
Well, thank you. I do what I can with what I've been given. So I have this like thing on my shoulder. I still have it to this day. That's how cool I am. I still have it to this day. But there's like this like, I don't know if you can hear it grinding through the mic or not, but there's like this something in between my shoulder blades. And it was like way back in my 20s, like 26 or 28, something like that. And I've got long hair and I'm all hippie-esque. But I'm like neo hippie. So I'm like, what is up with my shoulder? And I've been exploring like metaphysics, you know, since like my early 20s. So, you know, talking to my body isn't something like a foreign idea. And I'm like, what is that about? And I go, I was saying to myself, I wonder if I could ask my body what it is, like why it does that. And then my thought was, oh, I wouldn't be able to hear it, or I discounted myself in some way, like where I wouldn't get it, or I wouldn't get the message or whatever. And then I went back to what I was doing, and I heard, you always tell me I'm never enough. And I was like, oh, shoulder. I was like, you're enough. I was like, wow, that's where that thought form lives of you're not enough, is like in that nugget in my shoulder. And what I watch now is that when I'm doing something that starts to hurt and starts to like tense up, I'm like, oh, you're not, like, now is a signal for me to like to slow down and stop what I'm doing and start doing some self-love, because this thing of like you're not enough is being activated. And it shows up in that resonance, in that knot under my shoulder blade.
Wow.
So
that's
the power of listening to your body.
Totally. That's profound. Yeah. And I was listening to some study material, watching some study material recently, and I forget who it is. I've taken so many classes recently, but I think it was David Wilcock. But anyway, they were talking about how our cells have their own consciousness, and how do I put it? So if we're not talking kindly and treating our body kindly, our cells, who have their own consciousness, our cells have a separate consciousness. Each one of our cells have a separate consciousness, I guess you could say. If we're not talking to our body and treating it kindly, then our cells know that. They know that. They're intelligent. They know that. And react.
Yeah. Well, you think, I mean, our bodies are like 90% water, something like that. I like the number always changes. And you think of like the Dr. Emoto, the guy with the water.
Yeah.
Like, is it Emoto?
Emoto.
So, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Something like that. You know who we're talking about. Like so it's like you say, I love you, I love you. You hear the thing that says I love you, and you put a glass of water on it. The water looks, you know, microscopic, looks beautiful. I hate you. It's all like distorted and warbled. It's the same thing. We're mostly water.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So Kat, thank you. I don't see any questions. Do you have any questions or anything that comes to mind that you want to talk about we didn't cover? I mean, this is a never-ending conversation with Ascension,
exactly right.
Yeah, it's too big to cover in an hour and 45 minutes. Or how long is it going to be?
15,
about an hour.
Yeah, 15, yeah. I mean, my only closing thought is learn how to trust yourself. It's been one of my biggest challenges in this lifetime is to learn how to trust myself. But it's where it's at. So, and trusting yourself means taking risks, and taking risks means you're going to make mistakes, and making mistakes means you're going to learn. So even when you trust yourself and things go sideways, fail forward. It's still some goal to be gained, and don't judge yourself for failing. Fail forward. It's a lesson. It's a step. You're not expected to come out of the gates and get it right perfectly the first time. That's ridiculous. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself, like you would to a child. A child isn't like born and you're like, okay, you got 2 weeks to learn how to crawl. I expect you running in 3 weeks. We got an agenda. Like, don't do that. Be the nurturer, be accountable to yourself, but be nurturing and loving inside of that accountability as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for being here and chatting with me.
Pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Love it. You're great.
No, who are you? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and everyone who's watching this after the fact. Really, really appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I will put everyone's information down below. And your YouTube channel is
Third Eye Salon, so it's 3, or I guess it'd be 3, however you're looking at the screen. RD, 3RD, Eye Salon. Eye Salon.
Eye Salon.
Where we massage your inner eye so you can see more dimensions and more realities.
Nice. And he's got some really amazing guests other than me on there. So.
Case in point.
So I know, right? Okay. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Yeah.